Welcome back to Oculus of the Wise. If you found this message today, it was meant to reach you at this exact moment. The light guided you here for a reason. Chosen one, I have something important to share with you today, and I want you to settle your mind for a moment. Take a breath. What I am about to explain will finally bring clarity to something you have been feeling your entire life, but could never quite put into words. You have noticed it, have you not? That persistent, unexplainable loneliness that follows you even when you are surrounded by people who love you, even when you are with your family, even when you are with friends who genuinely care, even when you are in a room full of laughter and conversation. There is still this emptiness inside you that nothing and no one seems able to fill, and it leaves you wondering, am I broken? Am I asking for too much? Why can I not feel satisfied the way others seem to be? Why does connection feel so temporary, so surface level, so insufficient? By the end of this message, you will understand the spiritual reason behind this loneliness, and you will stop questioning whether something is wrong with you, because nothing is wrong with you. You are simply different, and there is a divine purpose for that difference. Stay with me until the end, because there is something you need to hear that will settle your heart deeply. And if this resonates with your spirit, if you have felt this loneliness your whole life, let me know by commenting 444 below. This simple act is a declaration that you recognize yourself in these words and that you are ready to understand why. Section 1. The loneliness that makes no sense. Chosen one, I want you to think back to your childhood for a moment. Even as a young person, there was something in you that felt out of place. Maybe you could not name it then. Maybe you thought everyone felt the way you did. But as you grew older, you began to realize that other people did not carry this weight. You would be at family gatherings, surrounded by relatives, hearing laughter and stories, and yet you would feel completely alone. Not physically alone, emotionally and spiritually alone. As if you were watching life from behind glass, present in body but separate in spirit. You would have friendships that looked normal from the outside. People who called you their friend, people you spent time with, people who seemed to enjoy your company. But when you were alone afterward, you would feel that familiar emptiness return. Like you had shared space but not really connected. Like you had talked but not really been understood. And in romantic relationships, this loneliness becomes even more confusing. You can be lying next to someone who loves you, someone who has committed their life to you, someone who knows your history and your habits, and still feel profoundly alone. Not because they are doing anything wrong, not because the relationship is failing, but because something in you remains untouched, unreached, unmet. This is not the loneliness that comes from being isolated. This is not about needing more social interaction or better communication. This is something deeper. This is existential loneliness. And it has been with you for as long as you can remember. Let me describe it more specifically so you know I understand exactly what you experience. You can be at a dinner table with people laughing and sharing stories, and suddenly you feel like you are watching from outside yourself. Like you are acting the part of someone engaged, while the real you is somewhere else, unreachable. You can receive a compliment or words of encouragement, and while you smile and say thank you, inside you feel nothing. Not because you are ungrateful, but because the words, no matter how kind, do not penetrate to the place that aches. They bounce off the surface while the depth remains untouched. You can accomplish things that others celebrate, achievements that should bring satisfaction, and yet you feel strangely empty afterward, as if you completed a task that was expected of you, but did not actually matter to the core of who you are. You have probably tried to explain this to someone close to you at some point. Maybe you tried to tell them how lonely you feel despite being surrounded by people, and they probably responded with confusion or suggestions. Maybe they told you to go out more, to join groups, to be more social, and you knew they meant well, but they completely missed the point, because this loneliness has nothing to do with the quantity of human interaction. It has everything to do with the quality of spiritual resonance. Many people around you do not understand this. They see you with family, with friends, with a partner, and they assume you are fine. They assume you are connected. They assume you have what you need, and so you learn to hide it. You learn to smile at gatherings. You learn to participate in conversations. You learn to look engaged and present. But inside, there is always that quiet ache, that sense that you are homesick for a place you cannot remember. That feeling, that part of you belongs somewhere else. And this world, no matter how much you try to root yourself in it, never quite feels like home. Sometimes this loneliness manifests physically, a tightness in your chest that appears for no medical reason, a heaviness that settles over you in crowded places, a sense of being drained after social events, even pleasant ones, as if being around people who do not understand your frequency costs you energy you can barely afford to spend. You have probably found yourself leaving gatherings early, making excuses about being tired or having things to do. But the truth is, you were not tired physically. You were tired spiritually, tired of pretending to be satisfied by conversations that never go beneath the surface. Tired of nodding along to topics that feel empty and meaningless. Tired of being present in body while your spirit is crying out for something real. If you recognize this feeling, breathe slowly right now. You are not alone in this, and more importantly, you are not broken. Section 2. Why you feel this way. Let me explain something that will help everything make sense. What you are experiencing is not a defect in your personality. It is not a sign that you need to try harder to connect with people. It is not evidence that something is missing in your relationships. What you are experiencing is the natural result of carrying a frequency that is different from most people around you. God places something upon certain souls that sets them apart. Not for pride, not for superiority, but for assignment. You carry a frequency, a vibration, a spiritual essence that originates from a different dimension. And human relationships, no matter how loving or sincere, cannot fully satisfy what your soul remembers from that origin. Think of it this way. Imagine you are a radio designed to receive signals from a particular station, but you are living in a world where most radios are tuned to a completely different frequency. The people around you can connect with each other easily because they are all receiving similar signals. They share similar wavelengths. They resonate at similar levels. But you are tuned to something higher, something deeper, something that most people in this world are not designed to access. And so, even when you are surrounded by genuine love and good intentions, there is still a part of you that remains unmet because the frequency you need is not commonly available in this realm. This is why you can be in a crowded room and feel alone. This is why conversations that excite others leave you feeling empty. This is why you can go through all the motions of connection and still feel like something essential is missing. It is not because people are failing you. It is because you were designed for a kind of communion that transcends what most human relationships can provide. Your loneliness is not a problem to be fixed. It is a sign of your origin. It is evidence that you do not fully belong to this world, and that is exactly how it is supposed to be. Section 3. What this loneliness protects you from now. I need you to understand something important. This loneliness, as painful as it has been, has also served as protection, because you could never fully attach yourself to people and places the way others do. You have remained free from certain entanglements that would have derailed your purpose. You have remained spiritually mobile in ways that others are not. People who feel completely satisfied by human connection tend to build their entire identity around relationships. Their sense of worth comes from being liked. Their sense of security comes from being included. Their sense of purpose comes from being needed by others. And while there is nothing wrong with valuing relationships, when your entire foundation is built on human approval and human connection, you become vulnerable to manipulation. You become controllable. But you could never fully anchor yourself in that way. No matter how much you wanted to fit in, no matter how hard you tried to feel satisfied by what satisfied others, something in you always remained separate, always remained untethered. And that separation, that inability to be fully captured by human systems, has kept you aligned with something higher. Your loneliness has prevented you from building your life around the wrong things. It has kept you searching. It has kept you hungry for truth. It has kept you from settling into comfort that would have made you spiritually lazy. Think about the people in your life who seem completely content with surface-level living. They do not ask the questions you ask. They do not feel the restlessness you feel. They are satisfied with routines and distractions and shallow connections. And because they are satisfied, they stop growing, they stop seeking, they stop evolving. But you could never do that. Your loneliness would not let you. It pushed you to keep searching for something more real, something more true, something that could actually meet the depth of what you carry. And that search has shaped you into someone who cannot be easily fooled, cannot be easily controlled, cannot be easily satisfied by things that do not actually matter. Your loneliness has been your teacher. It has trained you to discern what is authentic from what is performance. It has trained you to value substance over image. It has trained you to seek alignment over approval. And there is something else this loneliness has done for you. It has developed in you an ability that most people never cultivate. The ability to hear God clearly. When you are not distracted by constant human interaction, when you are not seeking validation from external sources, when you sit in that quiet space that used to terrify you, something opens up. A channel between you and the divine that cannot be accessed when your mind is crowded with the noise of trying to fit in. People who are fully satisfied by human connection rarely develop deep spiritual sensitivity. They do not need to because their needs are being met horizontally. But your needs were never fully met by human relationships, so you learn to turn upward. You learn to listen for guidance that comes from beyond this realm. You learn to trust inner knowing over popular opinion. This is why you often know things before they happen. This is why you can sense when something is wrong even when everything looks fine. This is why you can walk into a room and immediately feel what is really happening beneath the surface conversations. Your loneliness forced you to develop spiritual senses that others have allowed to atrophy. So before you curse this loneliness, recognize what it has protected you from. Recognize what it has developed in you. Recognize that it was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to refine you into someone who cannot be distracted from their purpose by the comfort of human approval. Section 4. When you meet someone on your frequency now, let me tell you something that will give you hope. This loneliness is not meant to last forever. There are moments, rare but real, when you will encounter someone who operates on your frequency, and when that happens, you will know immediately. You will not need to explain yourself. You will not need to perform or pretend. You will sit in their presence and feel something you have not felt with anyone else. Recognition. Not attraction in the romantic sense, though it can include that, but recognition at the soul level, a sense that this person sees you, not the version of you that you show the world. Not the role you play in social settings, but the real you, the part of you that has always felt hidden and alone. When you meet someone on your frequency, conversations go deep without effort. Silence feels comfortable instead of awkward. You do not have to fill space with noise, because the presence itself is enough. You can say things you have never said to anyone else, and they do not look at you with confusion or judgment. They simply understand because they have felt it too. These connections are rare, and that is intentional, because if you had access to this kind of connection all the time, you would stop seeking the ultimate source of that frequency, which is your connection to the divine. God allows you to feel the loneliness so that you stay oriented toward Him. But He also allows you brief glimpses of soul-level connection with certain people so that you know it is possible, so that you know you are not imagining what you long for, so that you know the frequency you carry is real and can be recognized by others who carry it too. These people are not meant to complete you. They are meant to remind you that you are not alone in your journey. They are meant to confirm that what you feel is valid, and they are meant to walk beside you for however long the assignment requires. Do not try to force these connections. Do not try to make someone fit into this category when they clearly do not resonate at your level. You will know when it is real because it will feel effortless. And when those connections appear, honor them, protect them, value them, because they are sacred. Section 5. The loneliness is preparing you for something. Here is what I need you to hear. Chosen one, the loneliness you have carried is not random. It is not punishment. It is preparation. You are being shaped for a level of spiritual work that requires you to be detached from the approval and validation of people. Because if you were still dependent on human connection for your sense of worth, you could not do what you are about to be called to do. The assignments that are coming will require you to stand alone sometimes. They will require you to speak truth that makes people uncomfortable. They will require you to walk paths that others will not understand or support. And if you were still seeking human approval, if you were still afraid of being alone, you would compromise. You would soften your message. You would shrink yourself to keep people close. But because you have already learned to carry loneliness without breaking, because you have already walked through the fire of feeling unseen and misunderstood, you are no longer controlled by the fear of isolation. You know how to stand in your truth even when no one stands with you. You know how to hear God's voice even when human voices go silent. This is what the loneliness was building in you: strength, independence, unshakable alignment with truth. And now, as you step into the next season, you will begin to see why this preparation was necessary. You will be positioned in places where weaker souls would crumble under the pressure of isolation, but you will stand firm because you have already survived something most people never experience. You have survived feeling alone while surrounded by people, and that has made you spiritually indestructible. The loneliness is lifting, not because it was a mistake, but because it has completed its work. You are ready now. Section 6. The shift that is happening now, chosen one. I want you to pay attention to something that is already beginning to shift in your life. You may not have named it yet, but you have felt it. The quality of your loneliness is changing. It is becoming less painful and more peaceful, less desperate and more intentional. You are learning to be alone without feeling lonely. You are learning to enjoy your own presence. You are learning that solitude is not the same as isolation. This is not because you have given up on connection. It is because you have finally understood that the connection you were seeking was never going to come from other people in the way you expected. The connection you long for is vertical, not horizontal. It is between you and the divine. And once that connection becomes your primary source, human relationships stop carrying the weight they used to carry. You will still value people. You will still love deeply. You will still invest in relationships, but you will no longer need them to complete you. You will no longer feel desperate when they fall short. You will no longer feel devastated when they do not understand you, because you have found the frequency that feeds your soul, and it flows from above, not from around you. And here is what happens when you reach this place. The right people begin to appear, not because you are seeking them, but because you are finally vibrating at the level that attracts them. People who were never meant to stay start falling away naturally. Connections that were draining you begin to dissolve without drama. And space opens up for relationships that are aligned with who you are becoming. The loneliness you have carried is not ending because you found the perfect person or the perfect community. It is ending because you found yourself, you found your frequency, you found your alignment, and from that place, everything else falls into position. Section 7. Stay grounded in this truth before we close. I want to leave you with something to hold on to. You were never meant to feel fully at home in this world. You were never meant to be completely satisfied by what satisfies others. You were never meant to fit perfectly into spaces that were not designed for your frequency. Your loneliness is not evidence that you are doing something wrong. It is evidence that you are doing something right. It is evidence that you have not compromised. It is evidence that you have stayed true to what you carry, even when it cost you comfort and belonging. And now, as you move forward, do not be afraid of the solitude. Do not be afraid of the quiet. Do not be afraid of walking paths that others do not understand. This is where your power lives. This is where your clarity comes from. This is where your purpose is revealed. The loneliness was never your enemy. It was your refining fire, and you came through it stronger, wiser, and more aligned than you have ever been. Walk forward, knowing that you are not alone, even when you feel alone. Walk forward, knowing that the frequency you carry is sacred. Walk forward, knowing that the right connections are already on their way to you. You are exactly where you need to be. If this message brought you peace, if it helped you understand what you have been carrying, I want you to do 3 things. First, give this video a like so it can reach other chosen ones who need to hear these words. Second, subscribe to Oculus of the Wise and turn on notifications so you do not miss future messages designed specifically for your journey. And third, comment 444 below as a declaration that you are no longer afraid of your loneliness because you now understand its purpose. You are divinely protected, you are spiritually aligned, and you are walking in your assignment. Breathe deeply, chosen. 1. The shift has already begun. Together, we rise toward the light.